Okay, so you've definitely heard this one, right? Render to Caesar what is Caesar's. It's like one of the most famous lines ever. But what if I told you this whole story isn't really about taxes? Nope. There's something way more powerful, something kind of subversive, hidden right in plain sight. And it all boils down to one simple question that almost everyone misses. And here's the thing. The entire genius of Jesus' answer hinges on this one single moment. His opponents, they're trying to trap him. And what does he do? He asks them to show him a coin. Just show me a coin. Why? I mean, why did he have to see it? What was so important about that? Well, that is the mystery we are going to unpack right now. All right, so let's get into it. Most people hear this story and think, wow, that was a really clever way for Jesus to dodge a question about paying Roman taxes. And, it is clever, for sure. But the stakes here, they were so much higher than just a little bit of money. To really get what's going on, you have to understand a really important distinction. The word they used wasn't just tax. It was much closer to the word tribute. And in the Roman world, that difference meant everything. See, paying tribute wasn't just about money changing hands. It was a deeply religious, deeply political act. And here is the absolute key. To get your hands on this specific coin, a denarius, you had to participate in the state religion. We're talking about offering incense, acknowledging that Caesar was basically a god. So if you were carrying this coin around, it was like you had a receipt in your pocket, a receipt that proved you had participated in emperor worship. So once you know what that coin really meant, the brilliance and the nastiness of the trap they set for Jesus just snaps into focus. I mean, his enemies cooked up what they thought was the perfect, inescapable dilemma. And to do it, they brought together two groups who usually hated each other's guts. Get this. On one side, you've got the Pharisees. Think of them as the super religious conservatives, the guys who wanted to reject anything and everything foreign or pagan. Then, on the other side, you have the Herodians. They were a political party who were all in on Roman culture and power. I mean, these two groups were bitter enemies, but they teamed up for one reason and one reason only, to trap Jesus with his own words. So they walk up to him with this question that sounds so simple, right? Is it lawful to pay tribute to Caesar? But it wasn't a real question. It was designed to be a total checkmate. A simple yes or a simple no would have been an absolute disaster for him. I mean, just think about his options here. If he says, yes, go ahead and pay the tribute, what's he doing? He's pretty much endorsing the worship of Caesar as a god, and that would completely destroy his credibility with the Jewish people. But if he says, no, don't pay it, well, the Herodians are right there ready to run to the Romans and report him for starting a rebellion. See? He's completely trapped. So what does he do? Does he say yes? Does he say no? Neither. Instead, he makes this one little request, a request that completely flips the script and turns the entire trap back on them, exposing exactly what they were trying to hide. Remember, he's standing in the temple courts. This is sacred ground, a place where Roman coins with all their pagan images were absolutely forbidding. And he asks them to produce something that no truly devout person should even have on them in that spot. And then somebody does. Someone actually reaches into their pocket and hands him a denarius. And this wasn't just any old coin. Oh no. The denarius back then had the face of Tiberius Caesar on it. And the inscription on the front, it basically read, Tiberius Caesar, son of the divine Augustus. And on the back, it called him chief priest. I mean, this thing was a piece of portable blasphemy. So let's break that down. On this one little piece of silver, Caesar is claiming to be the divine son of a god, the great high priest, and the one who brings peace. Does that sound familiar? It was a direct challenge to everything Jesus was. The true Son of God, the true great high priest, and the one who brings God's true peace. This wasn't just a political argument anymore. This was cosmic. Okay, so now his accusers have completely exposed their own hypocrisy, right? They just produced this blasphemous coin in the temple. And now Jesus finally gives his answer. And believe me, with all this context we've just talked about, his words land with a totally new, explosive meaning. He holds up that little coin. He asks them whose picture and whose name is on this. And they have to admit it's Caesar's. And then he drops that masterful line. He's basically saying, you see this idolatrous piece of metal with Caesar's face on it? It belongs to his world, his corrupt system. So fine, give it back to him. But wait, he's not done. Because here comes the profound second half of the statement, the real punchline. If the coin, which is stamped with Caesar's image, belongs to Caesar, then what belongs to God? The answer? You do. We do. Humanity is made in the image of God. So his point is, yeah, give that worthless piece of metal back to the emperor, but give your whole life, your allegiance, your worship, your entire being to God whose image you bear. You see, this story is so much more than just a clever historical anecdote. What Jesus does here is lay out a timeless principle for how to navigate that tension between worldly power and our ultimate allegiance to God. And that principle? It is just as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. So what's the core principle? It's this. You can and you should respect the authorities in the world. But there is a line, a hard line, and whenever any authority, whether it's the government, your boss, or just the culture around you, demands the worship, the allegiance, or the moral compromise that belongs only to God, that's the line you cannot cross. Period. And this wasn't some new idea Jesus just came up with on the spot. This same principle echoes all through history. You see it with Daniel and his friends, right? They had to choose between the king's rules and God's law. You see it with Queen Esther, who literally risked her life to defy an order from the state. And later, the Apostle Peter says it flat out, we must obey God rather than men. It's this constant, timeless struggle. So, okay, this all brings the question right back to us, here and now. I mean, for most of us, the government isn't literally asking us to burn incense to a president or a prime minister. But that doesn't mean we don't have our own Caesars demanding our ultimate allegiance, does it? So what are we giving our tribute to today? Is it the approval of other people? Is it the authority of social media, the likes and the shares? Maybe it's the awards and promotions we get at work? The thing is, if we're not careful, we can end up giving our ultimate worship to these modern-day Caesars, giving them the kind of authority that should only belong to God. And maybe that's the real challenge of this whole story. Figuring out what in your life bears Caesar's image and what bears God's.